Good morning. Today's my lecture topic is welding. Welding is a process of joining two or more metal parts by melting them together, often with a filler material, to form a strong joint. The main purpose of welding is to create permanent joints that can withstand mechanical loads, heat and stress. Next one is types of welding. Basic types include arc welding, gas welding, resistance welding, TIG welding. TIG welding is nothing but tungsten inert gas welding. MIG welding is aggregation gas welding. Then the laser welding. The heat source, mainly the welding requires a heat source such as electric arc, gas flame, laser or ultrasonic energy to melt the metal surfaces. The filler material, filler rod or wire is used to fill gaps and reinforce the joint between the metals. Joint preparation. Proper preparation such as cleaning, beveling and aligning of workpieces is necessary for a strong weld. Shielding. Many welding processes use shielding gas or flux to protect the molten metal from oxidation and contamination. Welding positions can be performed in various positions: flat, horizontal, vertical or overhead, depending on the application. Safety consideration, because when we are using the welding, it involves high heat, sparks, UV radiation and fume. So proper safety equipment like gloves, helmets and aprons is essential. What are the applications means? Welding is widely used in construction, automotive, shipbuilding, pipelines, aerospace and manufacturing industries to assemble metal structures and components. Our classification of welding includes, based on heat source, welding can be classified according to the source of heat, such as arc welding, gas welding, resistance welding, laser welding and ultrasonic welding. Arc welding uses an electric arc between an electrode and the workpiece to melt metals. Gas welding flames produced by burning a gas to melt the metal for joining. Resistance welding joins metals by applying pressure and passing electric current through them to generate heat at the joint. Solid state welding. Metals are joined without melting by applying pressure and sometimes heat. Friction welding, ultrawelding. Energy beam welding uses concentrated energy sources like lasers or electron beams to melt and join metals. Example: laser beam welding, electron beam welding. Consumables versus non-consumable electrode. Consumable electrode welding, electrode melts, it acts as a filler in the MIG welding. Non-consumable electrode welding, electrodes does not melt, that is called TIG welding. Manual versus automatic welding. Difference is, manual welding operated by hand, automatic welding machines or robots perform welding automatically. Fusion or versus pressure welding means, fusion welding, metals are melted at the joint, whereas in the pressure welding, metals are joined by pressure without complete melting. Application based on classification in welding can also be classified by industry use, such as construction welding, pipeline welding, automotive welding, aerospace welding, etc. The principle behind the arc welding process, it is an important one, because arc welding is a process in which joining of metals is done by melting them using an electric arc between an electrode and the workpiece. The heat generation. The electric arc produces intense heat, that is up to 6000 degrees centigrade, that melts the base metal under the electrode tip. The electrode roll means the electrode can be consumable or non-consumable. And circuit completion. Arc welding requires a complete electric circuit between the power source, electrode and workpiece. Arc formation. When the electrode is brought close to the workpiece, spark jumps the gap, forming a continuous electric arc. Melting of metals include the intense heat melts the base metal at the joint, and in the case of consumable electrodes, also electrode material to fill the joint. Next one is shielding. A protective gas or flux surrounds the arc to prevent oxidation, contamination and porosity in the weld. Filler material deposition. Molten metal from the electrode and the base metal fills the joint cavity, creating a strong bond upon cooling and solidification. After the arc is removed, the molten metal is cools and solidifies, forming a solid well with mechanical strength.